Okay, hi everyone, I'm Cindy, but for all of my art I like to go by my Vietnamese name, which is Bao Nghi Ngo. So pronunciation, it's like bow, like you're taking a bow, your knee, and then no. So a little bit of background about me. I don't have any formal training in art. I have a degree in biochemistry actually, but for my senior thesis, I did it about traumatic brain injuries and my personal experience with it, and I created a body of work with it, and so that was kind of the first time where I was able to process this experience that I went through, and realize that art is something that I could use to understand what I went through and maybe help other people process their trauma. A lot of my work is kind of based on at least one of these three themes. The first one being that I'm a first-generation Asian American. So if you're an immigrant or child of immigrants, you know that there's a lot of cultural barriers and financial barriers and just generational trauma. So a lot of my work is around that. But then also because I have a degree in science, just the intersection of art and science, whether it be the techniques that I use or the actual subject matter. And then lastly is the traumatic brain injury I had. So not to trauma dump or anything, but I had a brain injury and I was in a coma for a while. And then when I woke up from that coma, I lost basically any basic motor skills, forgot who my family was, any memory leading up to that point in my life, I didn't know anymore. So a lot of my work is based on that. So these are the pieces that I made for my thesis that kind of got me into art. So a lot of them are pretty small, 4x6, because I really like the idea of it feeling very personal, only one person can view it at a time. So a lot of these are DOS transfers, and then I use charcoal and red thread. And then this is a piece I did of my friend. It's cyanotypes, so it's kind of printing with UV light, and then you mix a bunch of chemicals and develop it. But then I really like texture, but still keeping things pretty minimalist, so this one I weaved together. And then this is actually out in the hall, but this is 35 millimeter film. And I'm really into black and white stuff nowadays. If you can tell, I don't really like color. But this was 35 millimeter film I shot and developed. And again, it kind of just feels nostalgic and lonely. Pretty much all my work kind of feels like that. This is part of an ongoing project. These are photographs of my mother, but this series in particular, I wanted to make it about how Vietnamese women were treated during the Vietnam War. So a lot of them were sexually abused and stuff, so this was kind of work that I kind of made about that. Still ongoing as I discover more photographs of my mom, but this is 4x5 film that I shot of my brother. It was my first time working large format photography, and at the time that I was taking this photograph, I was also in an ASL class, so I was learning a lot about accessibility and what visual art means. So I don't know if you can tell, but there's braille that I put onto the photograph. This was kind of a one-off project, but I'd love to do more stuff like this. And then this is the most recent piece that I created. So these are cyanotypes on linen napkins, and then I used red embroidery thread into it. And this piece is actually going to be in a gallery at the end of this month. So if you're interested, I put the reception details.
Send it to us. Oh, she said she
okay. And that's my Instagram. I'm chronically offline, so if you message me, I may or may not respond, but you can follow me if you want. Ray?
Okay, so you said Braille was on that one piece.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel, and obviously the Cedars Union had to stick aside students with the art. Actually, you invite someone to kind of touch and feel the piece that you create?
For that piece in particular, yes. I feel since a lot of my work is based on my own personal experience, I kind of like the idea of being able to hold something and making it like feel like it's your own memory. So I do like that idea, but then also like, how do I like, because if everyone's touching it, it'll obviously like deteriorate over time. So just kind of balancing like, oh, it's art that I want to last forever, but also I want it to feel like it's something that you experience yourself. But yeah.
Why do you open film?
I think like it brings like the science out of me because I develop all my own film, so just mixing all the chemicals and stuff. But while I'm here, I do want to explore different mediums. So if anyone ever wants to teach me something, I love learning.
In the art world, kind of outlined in the red, and I started.
If you do, please comparison. You do these things so you feel a connection to the person. Like I said, I came from Nicaragua when I was a little kid. And I'm gonna read like what I wrote here, as a lot of my colleagues are. All right, well,
So my goal for Cedars Union.
Not respond, but you can follow me if you want.
so here's a little bit about what I've published in the past.
We were talking about this the other time. Yeah, I would love to.
It looks much smoother on my screen.